Okay, today's video, I would like to talk to you about something that I've been working on and trying to get established, and may actually need your help. Okay, so a little backstory. For those of you who didn't know, I created this app called Layout Fast. It used to be a plugin for Revit, and that when I worked at Schneider Electric, all right, Square D. And so I built a plugin for Revit where we could build basically families on the fly. So for example, here I'm going to try to build this panel board here. Basically we type in, say panel board, one, panel board type. It's going to be a non-fed. Okay, let's say it's 208. Main circuit breaker, 100 amp panel board. Sorry, capacity 100. Okay, then we're gonna say it's aluminum bus, 30 slots, and basically what this is doing is going through there and figuring out the configurations that are available as I'm selecting, so you kind of understand what I'm trying to do here. So the door here, and so basically it would then give you some information, and then you can click on this and basically download the RFA. That's the web version today. It used to be a plugin which would be instantaneous, and it would basically, you could just insert it into the project. Okay, don't know exactly why I've been gone from Schneider Electric for 4 years. I don't know why they got rid of the plugin, but they got rid of it, and now they don't have the web version. So let's give it a few seconds here. Okay, as you can see here, success. It's downloaded the RFA, and then you can basically take this RFA, you could drag it into your project. Okay, so I developed this app, and one of the things in order to make the app work is that I collected a ton of data, a ton. As you can see here, these are the three main companies, Schneider Electric, Eaton, ABB. So when you get their submittal data, okay, as you can see here, it's just in a a vertical text column. Okay, and so basically when I'm working on a project and I'm trying to create content, I have to read through this stuff, and there's a lot of copy pasting. Okay, it just kills me to do this. Now ABB, basically they do have, in the beginning of their submittals, they do put some of their information in this grid format, and I'm able to use Bluebeam to pull it out, which is a big help because it does give me a little bit of a head start here, where the other two, Schneider Electric and Eaton, do not do that. Okay, now of course I'm missing a lot of data here, so as you can see here, I have to cut and paste all this stuff in, and it would be nice to have that in a grid. So this whole thing I'm trying to get to now is basically, if the manufacturers could, instead of giving us this submittal data, okay, in a vertical format here, if they could give it to us in a tabular form, and then we could take that information, okay, as you can see here too, like trying to get this information out to, like, the height, width, and depth, and it's just a lot of copy pasting. Okay, so what I thought is, hey, what if I give them, say, hey, look, this is the standard data that we need, and put this into a tabular form, all this information that I'm gathering here. Maybe not all of it, but try to get all of it, that you possibly can. Okay, by doing that, this is the information, like for example, to build a panel board, okay, or a load center. Okay, so we already know all this information. And here's all the different values for each particular product. Okay, so I figured, hey, if this, imagine that a manufacturer giving you a CSV file or a spreadsheet with all this data in here, how fast that would be to create content. All right, so let's just say this is their submittal data, okay, and this is what they give you as a grid. Okay, then I can take that information, and then if you know anything about type catalogs, you go in there and add the Autodesk Revit type catalog information, like for text or whether it's voltage or whatever, and then you end up creating a type catalog. Okay, and with that information, I will show you kind of how it would work. All right, so let's pull up. All right, hold on, wrong screen. Okay, so this is let's just say this is the information that they fed you. Okay, all this information technically is in their system. Like for example, at Schneider Electric, they use a system called SE Advantage. Okay, SE Advantage is their quoting system, and basically it will create all the solutions, all of the different types of configurations, and then it'll create that vertical text file, basically, okay, the PDF that you get. Now some of this information you might have to type in yourself, like what it feeds from, stuff like that. They won't give you that information, but I put that into the RFA because that's something I like to do in our particular case here. And as you can see here, then I come in here and I basically add all the information to make it a type catalog. Okay, and for those of you who don't know what a type catalog is, all right, so A type catalog is basically a CSV file that you put those special headers on there so Revit knows how to read it, okay? And then you basically, the extension, you want to put txt on the end, and then you want to make sure that the name of the file is called the same as your family, your Revit family, okay? So once I create this, this type catalog, I can then take this information and bring it into Revit. Okay, so I'll show you how this is done. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to say Load Family. Okay, as you can see here, here's the family. Now, because I created a type catalog, when I click on Open, it's going to give me this grid here. Okay, now this is all the submittal data. Okay, now it's working with my RFA, of course. You know, I use my RFA with their submittal data because that's really what I need. Because as electrical contractors, you know, using manufacturers' content, you know, sometimes is, you know, it's, you know, we have certain ways that we need our model to look and basically work. So really, a lot of times it's better just to use our own content. Okay. Now, if you're a designer, that's fine. You can use the manufacturer's content. But as contractors, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select all the panel boards, because these are all the panel boards that are going into this project. And once I bring them in here, of course, it's going to say, hey, that's a lot of information. You sure want to bring that in there? And I'll say yes. And now when I go to electrical equipment, here's all my designations, and I can just drag them in to the project, you know, one at a time, you know, as I need them. Okay. All right. So that's the huge advantage by doing it this way. Okay. Now, this is where I kind of need your help. you know, so when you're working on projects, you can just start telling your distributors, like, you know, Gray Bar, you know, for Schneider Electric. I'm not familiar with ABB and Eaton, but ask for it in a grid format. You know, tell everybody, say, hey, look, if you're going to give me content, I really would like to have it in this format, in this grid format, so you can basically create your content really quick. All right. I have talked to our distributor, Gray Bar, and they're going to actually help me with Schneider Electric to try to push this through, even though I did work for Schneider Electric. I'm just one person, and it'd be, you know, if we had a community of people. So, you know, one of the things you could do, and I normally don't ask this of you guys, is that, you know, go to the comments, you know, put down, you know, what you think about this idea, because if they could do this, like I said, it saves. I mean, as you can see here, I took a whole submittal and brought it in there in less than a couple minutes. Okay, and this would just increase our productivity, and there's no reason they can't. So like I said, I worked for Schneider Electric. I know how their systems work. All that data is there. They just have to take it out of that vertical format and put it into a grid. Okay, so, you know, give me your comments. I'd like to hear what you guys are thinking, what you guys think about this idea. And, you know, this is something I'm trying to push. There is something else that I'm trying to push, and that is that I've been working on, you know, one of the things that I've been doing here, as you can see, I've been going here trying to figure out, like, okay, here, I mean, because I did lay out fast, I know all the questions that are asked. Okay, so as you can see here, these are all the questions that are asked, and these are all the values from all the manufacturers. I didn't look at just Schneider Electric. I looked at all the different manufacturers. So these are the questions. Okay, and so what I try to do is to say, okay, look, these are the questions that are always asked to order a particular piece of equipment. Okay, if we can standardize this nomenclature, okay, and this is what I've been working on too, to the point where, you know, if we create a shared parameters, a standard shared parameters, you know, file. Now, of course, you can still have your own, but if we could just agree, you know, to, you know, use a standard shared parameters, so that way when the manufacturers are giving our this information in submittals, or we're giving it to the manufacturers, if we agree to you know, this shared standardization. Now, Australia's done it, so we know it can be done. This is for the United States, of course, and I basically, if you look at this, you know, this spreadsheet that I created here, you know, basically this is the parameter group that you put that I put the parameters in. This is, you know, the way I've been doing it. Like I said, I've been using this since I've worked with Schneider Electric. The name of the parameter, the products that it you know, that it affects, okay, or that it's, you know, attributed to. Here's the discipline, like common, whether it's, you know, electrical, is it, you know, the different types of Revit parameters. Okay, then, you know, okay, is it length, for example, you know, then here's the format. Of course, we use USA here, and so we use decimal inches and stuff. The symbol, and then, you know, examples of, you know, especially on stuff that you may not be, you know, certain parameters you may not recognize, and like what are the, you know, typical values for those things. And this is something that I'm actually going to create a website and put all this information on there, so that, you know, you guys can take a look, because I think if we're all using the same information, and, you know, for example, think about third-party software. I mean, if everybody was using the same piece of information, it would just help a lot. And I can give you examples. So let's say a particular panel board. I mean, one person may call it volt, one may call it, voltage, one guy may say voltage, rating, one might say voltage system. I mean, it's the same thing. If we just agree to just pick one name, use that share parameter, therefore everybody can share, this information quickly. And that's one of the problems with the United States, I think, is that we haven't done this yet, and the industry has not embraced this. And I have talked to NEMA about this. I've talked to OmniClass about it. I mean, OmniClass, basically there's like, yeah, but it's a nonprofit thing, and it's just like, oh, it's going to take time. I've also talked to Electri International, and like I said, I'm just one person. If we all jumped on to the bandwagon here and said, hey, I really don't care what we call it, if you want to call it whatever, but I think international standards are, the United States standards, let's just pick something and just go with it. I'm not stuck on names. I just want to get it done. That way, I think it would help the whole industry. Okay. Like I said, just, put a comment down and tell me what you think, because, the more of us get together and say, hey, this, we need a standardization, we can, can I say force NEMA, but we can help NEMA. For those of you who don't know what NEMA is, that's National Electrical Manufacturers Association, and of course there's NECA, and like I said, there's Electri International, there's OmniClass. So there's a lot of people that we could just get together and say, hey, this is this is something that we need. I feel like I got a good base started here, and like I said, I'm not I'm not hooked on it. I don't really care. I just want to get it done. The names aren't really important to me. It's just getting it done and then being able to share that data. All right. So please comment. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about this. And I'm right now, like I said, I'm trying to push on Schneider Electric. I'm going to be calling ABB and Eaton here soon, and trying to get them to buy in on this. And I think everybody will just benefit. Like I said, I talked to Gray Bar, and Gray Bar thinks they would benefit from this. It would be helpful to them. So, all right, give me a comment, and I'll give you an update soon. Thanks.